Welcome everyone to the Game Engine series. To introduce this series, we're going to be making a game engine in Zig from scratch. So why Zig? Well, it's a great low-level language, it's fast, and I'd say one of the biggest benefits is we can very easily pull and seed dependencies. So we'll be able to, right at the start, use things like GLFW and GLAD to just make our lives very easy and move quickly. Okay, so getting into this episode, what are we doing? Well, it's just going to be the initial setting up a Zig project and adding in a couple dependencies being GLAD and GLFW. And of course, if anytime you want to go look at the code, the repo is down in the description, and if you look, it'll be pretty far ahead. And that's because I am actively developing this game engine and I've been streaming it live on Twitch. So if you want to go check that out, that's also down in the description. And one last thing before we get into the code, I want the series to be about making a game engine. I'm not going to be doing OpenGL tutorials or things like that. This series is going to be focused on just using the tools we have available, building a game engine. And yeah, I find there's lots of resources for OpenGL out there. So if you're ever lost or want to learn, I highly encourage you go learn more, improve your skills, and then come back. Without further ado, let's get into the code. Okay, so down in our terminal, we can see we have the repo, and it's the YT branch. So just looking right now, there's not much here. There's just the README. So the first thing we're going to do is just create a Zig project. What this will do, we can actually immediately run it. If you just do Zig build run, it'll compile, will run, and it'll do all this. But the one thing with Ziginit that I don't like is it adds a lot of boilerplate. I know minimal exists, but it's not, that's a little too minimal. So let's just kind of go down and remove quite a bit of this, really. So I'm just going to call this runtime. So yeah, so that's there. Then we go down to root. We can keep most of this for now, but let's just keep it, I'll just say a simple hello world, really. Debug.print. And also, forgot to mention, this is going to be called the Zephyr engine. And says hello. Let's see, new line. Yeah. So now we just run that. We have our simple hello world. So that's awesome. It's a great starting point for us. Again, there's not too much here, but moving on, this is kind of the big one. You can see here, it adds so many comments. So again, I'm just going to go in and really try and simplify this. Just removing a lot of these comments. We do want to keep most of it. We'll remove the testing stuff, but just going in, removing all these comments to really just kind of clean it up. And I'll speed this up. Okay, so now if we look at the code, this is kind of what we're left with. We have that run step that we obviously used to run the code. But now what we want to do is there's two dependencies that we want to start off with. One is GLFW. That is our kind of Windows abstraction, so that just allows us to create windows, get events like mouse movement, keyboard input, all things like that. That is the goal of GLFW. The second thing we need, second dependency, is GLAD. That is kind of our OpenGL wrapper. It'll provide us with the API to interact with OpenGL. So the first command that we are going to need is this one here. So the first command we're going to need is GLFW. You can go check out these repos. He did a great job here of just making GLFW consumable in Zig. So we're going to first add that one. So now that that's in our project, we're going to do a similar thing. So now this is one that I made. Again, you can see these repos are right there if you ever want to check it out. It's very simple. It's just kind of defining a few things in the build file and putting the C code in there. So this gives us, I made it GLAD or OpenGL 4.6 just to give us any newer feature we would want. So now if we go back to the code, we can see, let's also clean this one up. So here we can see our dependencies. And right here, it's exactly what we want. And then we are going to have to make a few changes in build because right away it's not going to really do anything. I guess we won't be able to see it today, but we can do our initial run, which should compile. We can see that in there. So what we're going to need here, so we have our main module here, but we wanted to find a couple other dependencies, which are the ones we just imported. So let's start with this. Let's do GLFW dep b.dependency. And then we're going to have to match the name, which I will show in one moment once I fill in the rest. .target equals target and optimize equals optimize. So again, we're looking at this GLFW zig. Going back here, we want it to match exactly what this is. So we have that, and then we want the exact same thing with GLAD. So we'll just copy that. And if we look at build.zig.zone again, we see this one's actually zig_GLAD. So let's go over there. So now we have our two dependencies here. And then we're going to have to add that, or link them, after to the module. So we have this mod. So we want to link library, and then we'll do GLFW dep artifact. And then this is what we'll use for import. So we'll be able to import just GLFW. And then we want the exact same thing with GLAD. Call this GLAD. Okay, so now we've done those two link libraries. We actually want to essentially do the same thing one more time inside of our exe. So we'll do exe.root module.link library, and then same thing, glfw dep artifact glfw, and then we will do GLAD as well. Okay, perfect. So now those are in there. Let's just try and make sure it builds. And now we can see it going through and building. In this case, I believe that's GLFW, and then there was also GLAD that got built. So same output because we're not using them. But yeah, that's all I wanted to do this episode, is just get our build script running. Next episode will be a little more exciting. We'll start using GLFW. We'll get a window created, and actually even we'll have GLAD set up too, so we can just paint a simple color to the screen. But thank you so much for watching. And just a reminder, the Zig fetch commands are down in the description. Same with the GitHub repo. And one last reminder that I'm streaming development of the engine live on Twitch. That link is also down in the description. And yeah, thank you again for watching, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe. See you next time.